survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.
If you want to move to the Free State and you're looking for some real estate, well, I know a guy who's really great. It's the Porcupine Realtor. Do you want a home with 20 acres, a lakeside cabin, any takers for renters, buyers, and sellers too? Mark Warden is the guy for you. PorcupineRealtor.com.
More Declare Your Independence is coming up next, live, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM.
Reporting from Keene, New Hampshire's liberty activism destination, I'm Ian Freeman, and this is Radio Free Keene News. Our top story this week is the strong primary election results for Ron Paul in New Hampshire. Ron Paul came in second place in both the Republican and Democrat primaries, with approximately 23% of the vote in the Republican and thousands of write-ins in the Democrat. Compared to his campaign in 2008, he nearly tripled his percentage, up from just under 8% in that election. The dramatic increase in success can be traced to a variety of factors, including the greater prevalence of social media like Facebook in our lives, to the down economy and realization that Ron was right with his predictions. However, another important factor are the hundreds of liberty-loving activists that have moved to New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project. Most of the Free State Project participants were behind the Paul campaign in both organizing and supportive roles. His success is a testament to the effectiveness of a movement which has only just begun. Visit freestateproject.org to learn more. Up next, activists crash campaign events for Santorum and Huntsman.
Do you feel like there's nothing you can do about the inexorable growth of government? I did too, before I heard about the Free State Project. The Free State Project is a project to get 20,000 liberty lovers to move to New Hampshire to have liberty in our lifetimes. Early movers for the FSP are getting elected, involved in their communities, and participating in civil disobedience. Call 888-377-2515 now to learn more about the Free State Project. 888-377-2515 or visit freestateproject.org.
With all the campaign activity in New Hampshire, it was an ideal time for the Shire Choir to hold some public performances. First up was the Santorum campaign stop at the Keene Public Library. Santorum is widely known as a drug warrior, so the Shire Choir's chronic carols were the perfect choice. You can download them yourself at tools.freekeene.com. We were able to serenade Santorum as he entered and exited the building, as well as singing in the room next to the one in which he was speaking. As you might imagine, this was fairly upsetting to Santorum's staff and supporters, and Keene police were called in to eject us. It was all caught on video and even made the Associated Press. Keene police pushed us out from the basement where the event was being held to the first floor, where we conversed with some older ladies who had nice things to say about our singing. Several days later, activists visited Keene State College for a Huntsman campaign event. We were toting signs in favor of secession and planned to quietly hold them during the event. However, before we could get in the front door, a man with a dog attempted to stop us from entering with the signs. We did anyway and went right on by another complaining Huntsman staff member to the second floor of the event room, where we found a perfect spot to hold our signs peacefully. Unfortunately, the Huntsman staff were not pleased about this expression of free speech and quickly sicked Keene State staffers on us when it became clear that we weren't going to move.
So we get to make the policies. So there's no free speech on Keene State College campus?
And we have a space for that.
Oh, you have a free speech zone? Is that what you're saying?
That is correct.
Oh, isn't that...
Neil? Neil? There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, let's go ahead and get a level here. Count the... What the heck? Okay, count to 5 for me, will you?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, is this a cell phone or...
No, this is a landline.
Okay. Okay, do it again.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, one more time.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All right. I'm just going to have to crank you up.
Yeah, I noticed I was listening to one of the podcasts, and that my voice was very low on that, too. I don't know why.
Well, it's your phone. It sucks.
Yeah. Well, it's an old phone from the 80s. I don't know if it's that or the line between here and the street.
It's probably the phone. The phones, the older they are, they're different.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to see how long we got. A couple minutes. Okay, now I'm going to, hold on a second. I got something wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. God, man, what the hell? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, go ahead and count for me.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
One more time.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I already did.
Hanukkah, the latest and most horrid, talent-bereft pop monstrosity the music industry has ever sadistically forced down the American public's collective throat. She's here with us in the studio right now.
What?
Now tell us, Chronica, how did you first...
Okay, I'm going to do a short... Now, there it goes. I don't know what the heck is with this headset. Okay, what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to introduce you and how we know each other, blah, 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 for a little bit, and I'm going to get right into your new book, and we'll start from there and talk about current status of. But, yeah, we can go for hours, Okay. Now, also keep in mind, we're doing Justin TV. It's kind of a video live online that's on also during the break. I need to warn you.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
I hate you.
This is the Onion News Network.
And now, live from the studios of Freedom's Phoenix, Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Today, let us make them remember. We are not
No fear here on Declare Your Independence. With me, Ernest Hancock, here in Phoenix, Arizona, from the VEAU Faithful Studios of Freedoms with an S, FreedomsPhoenix.com. Oh, yeah, check out the e-zine, FreedomsPhoenix e-zine.com, where you will see articles by L. Neil Smith on a regular basis, which is also this next issue for February. L. Neil, we got, it's all about war. What's it good for? Nothing. So anyway, so we're going to be focusing on that. We have a lot of, a lot of interest. I think it's going to, man, dang, they just never stop. And so it's always great to talk that. Let me go ahead and give a little bit of introduction to El Neil.
All right.
El Neil, this is how we know each other. In the early 90s, there was the National Libertarian Convention in Salt Lake City. He gave a presentation there, and Rick Tompkins, which was our state chair, Libertarian Party at the time here in Arizona, and his wife, Kathy Harrer, were there. And when they came back, we had just started for the 94 campaign cycle. We had just started the our workshop, our headquarters, that kind of thing, and really, we announced, here we come. I mean, we just blazed onto the scene, just like you saw on a national level, the Levolution. Well, imagine that in little bitty old Arizona, and the same kind of effort we was in they face. Now, Kathy and Rick brought us this speech that El Neo gave, and it went like this, you know, quit being compromising pieces of crap, okay? But the one line in there that, man, we knew, oh, we want to talk to this guy. He goes, you know, you're a bunch of Nerf libertarians with your foam core platform, and because what was happening is they wanted to water it down more. Oh, it's too strict. It's too. We want to be country club acceptable Christmas card list. And El Neil's like, you know, compromise is death. This is how. So we understood this and we embraced it. He has a lot of, you know, aphorisms, a lot of sayings, a lot of, you know, quotes and stuff that he uses in his books and everything, and he accumulated them. And I've even written articles using these, just listing them all. If you do Ernest Hancock, Google Ernest Hancock Freedom 101, and you'll see my homage to El Neil. Now the thing is that there was a couple of phrases in there that, you know, things like the louder they scream, the more harm you know you're doing them, you know, and the people that help them scream, you know, they're cheerleaders too. So I mean, you know, it's just simple stuff like that. Take the most. See, what was it? How can you be? If you're not at least a little uncomfortable with your position, it isn't radical enough. Take the most extreme position you can. You'll be claiming territory that you won't have to compete for later, mostly with your allies. And I'll give you an example. When the militia craze was going on and they, you know, got to go get everybody, we started raffling off AR-15s in the mid-90s. I mean, you know, 93. In the 93, we're raffling off AR-15, MAC-9, what the heck they call them, you know, the AK-47 variant of, and SKSs. When we did that, and we had the cards, the tickets that we were raffling off, we go to all these different places, got an enormous amount of media. We did the drawing on the steps of the main post office downtown on April 15th as they're putting their, you know, slave payment into the mailbox, and all the media is there, and we got the guns wired to a big 4x8 sheet of plywood on the sidewalk in downtown Phoenix. Think we didn't get some coverage? Don't you think that blah, blah? No, we don't. We're, you know, armed populace, blah, 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 blah. This all was due to L. Neil Smith's encouragement from his writings. The NRA, what are they doing? They're out doing 6 guns and lever action 30-30s. You're raffling them off thinking they're being cool. We're going, yeah, you got, you know, battle rifles? Yeah, that's what I thought. So we were always way ahead on the edge, feeling at least a little bit uncomfortable. And that is what we learned. And you're claiming territory you're not competing for later, mostly with your allies. Well, I don't think we really call them allies. But the NRA, how are they going to get behind that? What are they going to do, start raffling off bazookas or something? So this is what we were doing. We would expand the envelope. We would get right up against the freedom, totally leave me alone anarchist wall and demonstrate where the line really was. What happens is the center, the hump, that everybody, you got the Democrats and Republicans trying to fight over this middle hump here. We were moving it over towards freedom. We understood this. L. Neil Smith understood it, and he articulated it for a bunch of us young activists, because the revolutionaries that are now, I was you 20 years ago. I was you. And who's the one that was influencing us? And that's why you want to know why it always comes in Arizona? Why it came out of Arizona? It was because of guys, and a big part of it, L. Neil Smith. I give you L. Neil Smith. L. Neil Smith, tell me about your new book that you got coming out. Tell me everything.
All right, I will. It's called Down with Power. And that's exactly it. I regard power seeking as a symptom of a mental illness. And what I do is, this is not a theoretical book. There's been lots and lots of books written on theoretical libertarianism, but this is a book on policy, what we do with what we believe. And I have 36 or 37 issues that I discuss fairly thoroughly. The essays average a couple thousand words apiece, and I try to do it reasonably exhaustively. You're the first person I've said this to, and it's entirely fitting that I should say it to you, since you are largely responsible for the books having been written and published. I think of it, it's going to come out in paper today. This is the publication date, today. just a second. I've got a cat who is climbing all over the place. There, go you, go. Anyway,
it's publishing today.
Yes. I personally regard it as a loose leaf book. In other words, I'm going to when an issue comes up, or when I have time to work out an issue, or when I find a unique solution to problems and stuff like that, I'm going to start compiling what may be a second volume, what may be a new edition. I don't know what it'll be in the end, but it's a big, handsome book already, and it has the cover is the Declaration of Independence or the Bill of Rights. I don't remember right now, and then it just says "Down with Power." Has an introduction by Dr. Sean Gabb, who in England is libertarianism. I mean, he's very lonely over there, and it's just my suggestions for making policy decisions. It's also intended not just for libertarians, but anybody who is in politics can use this, and I'd be grateful to have them do it. But I wrote it for three reasons. I wrote it for newcomers to the movement, so that they could see what the movement is really all about, and not what they're told it's all about by the nerf libertarians that you were describing. Secondly, I wrote it for candidates to use as a campaign manual, because there isn't any such thing in the movement right now, and so by default they'll have to use that. That means they have to use real ideas instead of platitudes. And third, I wrote it because I was so thoroughly, completely, overwhelmingly disgusted by the candidacy of Bob Barr, the fact that the party would nominate him in the first place, that I wanted to make sure that what most people thought about libertarianism would drive people like him, opportunists, out of the movement. I wanted them to be ashamed or embarrassed if I could possibly arrange it.
How can L. Neil Smith shame them, drive them out of the movement, and make sure we don't have to put up with the Bob Barrs or the Wayne Allen Roots? Or I can go.
That's right.
It's a long list. So we want to go ahead and discuss this. We got the rest of the hour to do this, and it's not going to be enough time, I guarantee it. You guys stay right there. We'll be right back.
Arizona has been one of the hottest real estate markets in the past, up until the last couple of years. Homes that were once going for $500,000 to $1 million in prestigious areas are now going for less than half of what the original purchase price was. That makes it a very good time to buy. So if you were ever thinking of retiring to Arizona's inviting climate and laid-back and friendly lifestyle, now is the time. That's where I can help. This is Donna Hancock with Brangus Realty, and I have provided a way for you to search for properties that are of interest to you, all at your own convenience and without having to give out any personal information. Visit my webpage at donnahancock.com to start your search today. And when you're ready to make a move to Arizona's warm and sunny climate, please feel free to call or text me at 602-828-1819. Many are working hard to make sure Arizona is not only a beautiful place to live, but a free and peaceful one as well. So what are you waiting for? Make your move today by calling 602-828-1819. And don't forget to visit my webpage at donnahancock.com.
A congressman recently revealed that legislation totaling 2,900 pages and involving more than $1 trillion.
So how you been, man?
Oh, pretty good. Working hard.
How's your health? How you holding up?
I need to see a doctor about some heart issues right now, but I haven't had the time and or the money lately to do that. I'm fine. I walk around and.
I tell you, El Neil, the past, it's coming up on a couple of years. I've been doing juicing every day. And it's just like, it's not, I eat whatever I want. Donna just handed it to me. Did I get it? There we go. And it's just carrots, green apples, and green stuff like kale or something. You just put it through a juicer and you just drink it. Within seconds, you can tell the difference.
Oh, yeah.
And it is like within 3 days, I went totally off any glucosamine chondroitin. My joints were just starting to pop and being a pain in the ass. Did this, boom, done. You wake up, awake. You go to sleep, asleep. You stay alert throughout the afternoon. You're not hungry. It's just every positive. It's just nutrition. And it's just all this. Get the crap out of your diet, which I still eat whatever I want, but I just want less, because of this. I'm telling you, it's a big health thing. It cured cancer of a friend of mine. Just, he's on his deathbed, did this juicing thing, boom, done.
Where can I read about this?
There's a lot of places. I mean, they'll blow up all over the place.
I would like to have a juicer, but I want one that's stainless steel rather than plastic if I can find one.
Yeah, they're usually all the working components are stainless steel. You can go, and they're not that expensive. It's the one that really, if it's not on a 3x5 card, it's too long. But if you want to get all into it, it's called Gerson Therapy, Gerson.
All right.
That's what this guy did to cure himself. And I had some documentary guy on talking about it, and I go, look, can you just break it down? If you can't put it on a 3x5 card, I feel like I'm being BS'd, seriously.
I had one time a drink where they'd thrown an entire cantaloupe in a blender, including the rind and everything, and it came out the ugliest looking thing you ever saw, but it was also completely delicious.
Yeah, no, this tastes great. It's sweet, we did August edition of the magazine was all on nutrition and growing and health food and organic and whatever, and I'm telling you, man, they're just poisoning us. It's so obvious. Here we're coming back. Hold on.
Okay.
That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
To be a part of the show, call 602-264-2800. 602-264-2800. And now, Ernest Hancock.
Me, Ernest Hancock. It's I don't know, what the heck is it? I mean, that's kind of what this new book by L. Neil Smith is about, is kind of defining what this whole thing is about and how to go about it. And what we've done, and we learned from L. Neil early on, is that it's a cultural thing. And that's in the last half hour. You heard we were doing some clips, Neil, from Ron Paul's debate last night. He was talking about, did you watch it at all?
No, I'm deliberately avoiding those.
Just go Freedom's Phoenix. You just watch the highlights, Dr. Paul, the rest of the stuff. I can't stand it anyway. But anyway, he was on there, and he said they were going on about, abortion, this and that, and so on. And he's like, look, I practiced before Roe v. Wade. I practiced before all this government got into health care. I'm old enough, I remember what it was like. And his whole thing was, he goes, when the Vietnam War came, and when the sexual revolution, and pornography, and, all this other stuff changed the culture, and the pill, and abortion, and all that, he goes, it was the law started to reflect the culture. He goes, you want to fix this, it's not some law you pass, it's the people, it's culture. And I'm like, amen, brother, because that's what we learned from you. It is culture. It is how we think. Yeah. It's not what we write down. So I'm wanting to know, culturally, what kind of impact this book is going to have. I mean, you're using it to kind of drive out the compromising culture inside the Libertarian Party. I mean, do you still think there should be a Libertarian Party you're trying to save? I mean, what's your goal here?
I have no objection to there being a Libertarian Party. The only, I have an objection to this Libertarian Party. And that's been, I've been a member off and on since 1972, which was the first full year the party was in existence. Dave Nolan was a personal friend of mine, and he started the party in his living room, famously, in 1971 in Denver. And I often clashed with Dave because he tended to be more sort of a moderate, and he was also oriented toward kind of public relations things. He was an advertising guy. He'd won a Clio Award and all that. But there's nothing wrong with there being a Libertarian Party. I think Ayn Rand was right about it in one respect, though. She said it's too early for a party. We have to change the culture first. And a lot of people didn't like her saying that, but there's a great deal of truth in it. Politics always follows. Politics never leads.
You know, that's one thing a lot of people didn't know about Rand is, you know, and I didn't really know until you start reading some of the, you know, a couple of books that's mandatory reading to a young activist, but she focused on the cultural things so much that she would go to the universities and deal with the people in the psychology departments and the philosophy, and she saw the intelligentsia as the way to start injecting initially into our culture. She understood that because of her screenplays and the movies and the books. That was the whole point, and she knew it was a cultural thing, and she saw the Libertarian Party as I don't know what it was a distraction.
She called it hippies of the right. But she was wrong. I mean, she denied being a libertarian. But strangely enough, I learned what was called the non-aggression principle from one of her essays. You know, that no one has a right to initiate force against another human being. One of the great historic philosophical statements of all time. I mean, I would put it above the Golden Rule, or the what was the Immanuel Kant's thing, the categorical imperative, or even now I can't remember the Star Trek thing where you're not supposed to interfere with other cultures.
The Prime Directive.
There you go. I always said Prime Directive, keeping the third world in its place since 1969, right? But in any case, I learned libertarianism from a person who denied being libertarian, and so she was right about it. I'm amazed at how closely she managed to characterize in advance the things that are happening now.
You know, let me ask you this: have you seen the movie Atlas Shrugged Part 1?
I have indeed.
Oh, tell me, what did you think of that?
I liked it very much. I was prepared not to.
So, as was I. There was no way they were going to be able to put. You can tell, you know, somebody that knew that loved this movie and got the essence down of a 1,000-page, you know, book, and because all you really, as she went into excruciating detail on the character of every single person, what motivated them, had them painted inside their head what kind of person they were, and they did it with a couple of scenes, and I go, yep, I get it, I know that person.
Yeah. Well, the young woman they have playing Dagny is perfect.
I thought it was cast very well. The guy that played what's his name, D'Antonio? Is he the director or something? Or?
I don't know. I didn't follow the whole thing all that closely. I knew, I heard of the controversies about it and so forth and so on. I think they miscast Hank Gruden. And that's because, being the age that I am, I always saw Spencer Tracy in that role. A wider, stouter, more solid kind of guy, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I think they did. But
his acting's fine.
Yeah, I didn't have. I tell you what. When I saw it the second time, we went to the theater, and it was a big premiere here, and we made a big deal getting them to bring it to Phoenix and all that. Was the whole long story. But and they sent me a bunch. I got original movie posters, a whole bunch of them.
Nifty.
I will send you, Donna, send to El Neil some of the movie posters, because we love you, okay?
Oh, well, thank you.
Now, what happens was, we've been giving them out, judiciously. But the one thing that I really didn't anticipate is when I saw it the second time, after it came out on DVD. Somebody had, ordered a bunch, and they gave me one, and I watched it. I enjoyed it, because the first time you're filled with apprehension, you're already kind of,
are they going to ruin this?
Yeah, well, whatever, and the second time I enjoyed it so much, and when they went over the bridge that they had built and everything, right when they went over, I'm like choking up, man.
I was going to confess to the same thing. I found myself weeping watching that damn train go over the bridge.
It's amazing that, hell, just thinking about it, I'm crying. So, this is really a special time for us, and you and I started interfacing in '94, I think it was.
It was 95.
95. You came to a state convention. We heard you come speak.
It was really amazing. Mike Duggar called me on behalf of you guys, and I didn't know who any of you were. I thought that I had shouted that speech in '93 out to, empty space. The only people who got what I was saying were the 4 or 5 people who were disgusted with being called nurse libertarians and got up and left. And which I figured is right. You have an audience that big, it's 400 or 500 people. You know, if you don't manage to offend 1%, you're not doing your job.
Okay, now when we come back, we'll pick it up there. You know, because you have to understand, there is such a machine inside the Libertarian Party that was built and to take it over. I mean, to control it, to use it to their own ends. And Al Neal was a lone wolf out there screaming what was happening, and a few people listened.
You know the U.S. dollar is devaluing. You can see it happening every day. You know a new...
Yeah, that's where we'll come back, and we'll go ahead and talk about that speech. So go ahead and keep your mind on that, and we'll be back in just a little bit.
Okay.
Use, free to accept, and free from inflation forever. You can use them anywhere in the world. Find out more at weusecoins.org. Don't be kicking yourself in the pants in a month. Your dollars are going down. Learn more about Bitcoins at weusecoins.org. That's weusecoins.org.
Did you know you can get news updates about what's happening with the Liberty Radio Network delivered in the way you prefer? You can sign up for our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. Plus, you can stay in the loop by joining our Facebook profile at facebook.lrn.fm or follow us at Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm. It's all free, so sign up now at updates.lrn.fm for news updates delivered to your email box, facebook.lrn.fm to follow our Facebook page, and twitter.lrn.fm to receive our tweets.
What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over halfway to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keene. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. From demonstrations and vigils to outreach and volunteering, there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is also the undisputed liberty media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, and more, all originating here. Though it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, free books, a forum, and activist tools you can download and use in your area at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com.
When I signed up for the Free State Project, I was excited by the prospect of moving somewhere with other people that had liberty as a goal. When I got here to New Hampshire, I was stunned by the great weather and the natural beauty. The Free State Project is helping to move liberty forward. Want to be involved? Call 888-377-2515 now to learn more about the Free State Project. That's 888-377-2515 or visit freestateproject.org. That's freestateproject.org.
Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm.
When 16-year-old Jeffrey Patterson died in a car accident in February, he didn't just leave behind grieving friends and family. He also left a significant web presence. In a tribute to their son, Jeff's parents have continued to update their son's blogs and social media sites, including a blog called Shitbirds Everywhere.
Well, Jeff used his blog to make fun of stupid shitbirds. And now that we're doing this, it's like part of him is still alive.
Yeah. And when I post a picture of some shitbird who has a stupid ankle tattoo or wears some retarded hat, I feel like somewhere he's smiling.
He hated retarded hats so much.
Whenever we get a comment calling Jeff a dumb fag for making fun of a handicapped person on a rascal scooter, well, it's like he's still here.
Take it!
Jeff would have gotten such a kick out of that fast.
Take it! You must take it!
You cannot offer me. He really would have.
This is the Onion News Network.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
And now, live from the studios of Freedom's Phoenix, Ernest Hancock.
Take take it.
No, Frodo.
You must take it.
You cannot offer me this ring.
I'm giving it to you.
Don't tempt me, Frodo. I dare not take it. Not even to keep it safe. Understand, Frodo. I would use this ring from a desire to do good. But through me, it would wield a power too great and terrible to imagine.
But it cannot stay in the Shire.
No. No, it can't.
What must I do?
Chuck it in the fire in Mordor. That's what you do. It's not about who wears the ring. It's the ring. The ring, the ring, the ring, the ring, the ring, the ring. And there's been an attempt by those in the libertarian movement and certainly in the Libertarian Party. They want their turn at the ring. They can't wait for the ring. And you get guys like Bob Barr and Root and all these other guys coming in. They're ring wearers, not bearers to the fires of Mordor. They want to wear the ring. Gosh darn, we need to all come together. If everybody give $5 in 5 minutes and everything and do what I want to do, I'd be a ring wearer. And I'll rule you good. I'll be a good ruler, but I'm going to rule. And this is the mentality that L. Neil was immersed in and going out. He saw it building, and then in '93, he's given a speech going, look, you bunch of ring wearers, okay? So go ahead and let's pick it up there on what you had to say and why.
Well, it's very clear, and it should be clear to everybody. If you try to make a bigger tent out of your movement, that means you're taking in people who aren't really of the movement and have no potential to become part of the movement. The Republicans have made that mistake. Democrats have made that mistake and are paying for it dearly now because so many young Obama voters are switching over to Ron Paul. You've got to state what you stand for clearly without equivocation of any kind, and then proceed to make policy proposals on that basis that will cause people to vote for you. I mean, one of the great neglected constituencies out there is smokers. They're treated hideously. You know, and this is not saying one thing or another about whether it's good to smoke or whether smokers are good people or not. I mean, just like anybody else. There's good ones and bad ones. I was a smoker for 30 years. I quit when I had a pair of heart attacks in '93, that same critical year. And in fact, I had one either side of that convention in Salt Lake. But we should be talking to people who smoke, saying, you know, we will stand up for your humanity, for your rights, and we will see what we can do about you're not standing out in a sleet storm trying to get your fix instead of being somewhere where it's warm and dry. That's why I decided to write a book about policy. There had been so much talk on theory, and then the platform, which used to be a very noble document, the Libertarian Party platform. I was on the committee twice with some people who were, you know, went on to be big stars, like Murray Rothbard, for example. But the party rejected the platform, narrowed it down, and chopped it down, didn't want to offend anybody. So I sort of decided, you know, you need a platform, I'll give you a frigging platform. And that's really what Down with Power is about. It says what libertarians in power would do to eliminate that power, how they would go about it, and what their take would be on this and that issue. And I'm sure those issues I left out, I made it as exhaustive as I could, but there's always something arising. I mean, the big undercutting value is the zero aggression principle. If you can't initiate force against anybody, then 99% of what the government does goes away. But before we get to there, specific decisions are going to have to be made, and I continue to think about that all the time. I also want our candidates to be stuck with what I've said, because I want to introduce Down with Power to non-libertarians all over the place. And I'm going to see if I can't persuade some people to undertake getting a copy of that book into every newsroom in this country, so media people will know what they really have to expect of a genuine libertarian.
You know, that's one thing that we've been successful here in Arizona is because we followed a great deal your philosophy of no compromise. Compromise is death. And we did that to the consternation of the media. They hated it. They could not stand it because it's like, and they would actually say things like this. And it's like, you libertarians got an answer for everything.
Yes, I heard that too.
You know, and I'm like, sorry. I mean, you know, it was
what good would we be if we didn't?
Yeah, you know, freedom's the answer. What's the question? You know, and that's where that phrase came from in my head, because I'm like, you know, yeah, freedom's the answer. I don't care what your question is or how you're going to say it or what venue I'm in or what forum or what race I'm doing. No matter what the question is, I'm going to tell you how more freedom is going to make it better. I guarantee you, okay, go ahead and ask your question. And they hate that. And we got a lot of that from a lot of your sayings and a lot of your writings. And that's one thing that we did. When we first got exposed to L. Neil Smith and found out he was an author, an award-winning author, you know, the Probability Broach is probably the entryway drug to libertarianism for a lot of people.
I hope it is.
And it was, and it's kind of, from my opinion, it was kind of written for, I would say probably had the greatest impact on young men. I mean, you know, it was kind of like, you know, late teens, early 20s. It was that, you know, science fiction, philosophical, fun roller coaster of what can be and why. And it was just, and it's been in print how many gazillion times. I mean, you know, I've seen so many covers of it, I can't even keep track. But you know, the whole thing of it was we understood the mechanics of what you were talking about.
Yes.
And when we started doing that here in Arizona, you had to go, damn, about time.
Well, you know, I sat 2 years. I made that speech in '93, and I didn't hear from you guys until '95. And then when I did, you know, Mike sounds like a teenager on the phone. And I thought, oh, I'm going to, you know, address high school libertarians here, which is okay. I mean, that's a good place to start. But I finally think I've addressed the female side too. I've written a number of books with female lead characters, Bretta Martin for one, and I'm about to write another with a young lady, a young Puerto Rican girl, and but my real strike at the heart of womanhood in this country and trying to bring people over that way is my latest book. Excuse me a second. Is my latest book, Sweeter Than Wine. It's a vampire novel, but it's different from vampire novels in many ways I won't go into right now, except to say it's rational. It's non-mystical, but it's a romance. It's a story of a guy refinding his long-lost love after she turned him into a vampire during World War II. And now it's set nowadays, and you know, you have to find out whether she is his long-lost love or she's a serial killer. So that's, you know, and I'm getting good reports of that book from female readers, and I think that's a very good thing. I believe you can teach through fiction. My other new book out is Ceres, C-E-R-E-S, which is a sequel to Palace.
Which was a fantastic book, by the way.
Which one?
Palace. You know, when we first got introduced to L. Neil Smith, I'll tell you what happened. There were several of us that, you know, read, you know, and some of the guys, they got libraries, I mean, of all kinds, and certainly they like science fiction too. So what they did is we started ordering all of your books. You know, and back in the day, I mean, you actually had to use the mail and stuff, and you know, and so we would go to the used book. You go now to bookstores and so on, and you'll see. You go look for L. Neil Smith. There they are, right there. You know, just him and Heinlein and all the science fiction writers. He's up there with Hogan and the boys. So L. Neil Smith, by reading his books, we could see the future, the vision. You know, the vision. That's why our covers for Freedom's Phoenix e-zine are as cool as they are. We have a vision, too. And one of his illustrators, Scott Beezer, is the guy that does our covers. We'll be right back. We know you're out there. We can feel you now. We know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. We don't know the future. We aren't here to tell you how this is going to end. We're here to tell you how it's going to begin. We're going back to editing the next edition of Freedom's Phoenix digital magazine now, where we are telling the people what you don't want them to know. We're showing them a world without you, a world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries, a world where anything is possible. Where we go from there is a choice we leave to you. Subscribe at FreedomsPhoenixEasy.com. That's Freedoms with an S, PhoenixEasy.com.
You know the Constitution like the back of your hand. You've read books, listened to podcasts, attended lectures, surfed websites.
Hey, are you at a computer?
No, I am not, unfortunately, and the line that we're on is the line my computer uses.
Are you freaking kidding me? Where are you, in the freaking hills of?
No. Hang on a second. No, what's causing that?
Are you able to download a JPEG that's emailed to you?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to send you something. I want you to see this Beezer cover from this last month's magazine.
Alrighty.
The next one is War. Send him a copy of the JPEG of don't make it the big giant one. Take him forever to download it. But send him the cover for January's edition to El Neil. You got that? Yeah, thanks, baby. So Donna's going to go ahead and send that to you. I want you to see the cover. You're going to like it.
All right.
Now you look above in the chest of the spaceship, right above the doorway. It says WGT SAWIGINI or whatever. It's a Widget Sugini, okay? Kind of like a Tan Stoffel thing, right? Widget Sugini on the breast of the ship, and that stands for we're going to space and government's not invited. So we're really pushing this theme, man. We're having some fun with it.
Well, I have something to say when we get back on about the series that you're going to love, and so will the readers, I think.
All right, cool. We'll go ahead and get to that. I'll just come back and introduce how we, started reading your books and the impact it had and that kind of stuff, and I'll take you into that.
The Liberty Radio Network listen lines are locked on our stream 24 hours a day. Call 760-569-7753. That's 760-569-7753.
We live in an era of permanent warfare. America currently has soldiers and Marines deployed in Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen, Somalia, Libya, and now expanding further into Uganda, South Sudan, Central African Republic, Congo, and Nigeria. Hi, this is Scott Horton, inviting you to tune in to Anti-War Radio weekdays from noon to 3 Eastern Time here on the Liberty Radio Network, bringing you America's best journalists, columnists, lawyers, and activists on the subject of our overseas empire, its attendant domestic police state, and the folly of central banking, which makes it all possible. That's Anti-War Radio, Monday through Friday from noon to 3 Eastern Time here on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM. Full interview archives can be found at antiwar.com/radio. Anti-War Radio, revisionist history in real time.
Listen to LRN.FM on any phone, anytime. 760-569-7753. That's 760-569-7753.
Roads? It's the Ernest Hancock Show. Where we're going, there aren't any roads.
Tell you what we know. We know the power of ideas. That is what has driven us in doing what we're doing, because we know the power that it has over people to either react or act. And we have been very effective in communicating a lot of these ideas, but we had a kernel of inspiration that kind of let us know that we were on the right path from L. Neil Smith. And I think it surprised him. By the time that we had him come to Arizona, he had already seen our activism in full bloom. I mean, you know, in dealing with the media and the impact it had in the campaigns, in the news, and so on. And he was like, damn. So I'm sure he enjoyed this. But, you know, the books that we read, and we could see his forward-looking vision of what happens when you change a small thing in the beginning. Probability Broach was about that very thing.
Yeah.
There were parallel universes, and one of them, you know, they left it in unanimous consent, and in the other one, the timeline we're in now, where they put consent of the governed instead of the unanimous, which they did take out. And that one word changed an entire timeline, and then there was a broach between the two, and parallel characters interacted, and that's what the book was about. And in the end, you find out what the one word was that changed everything. And that is how we've looked at our activism, is that we make sure, you know, these important words, these important actions, these important stances that we take, is that we stay rock solid, no compromise, because we know what's going to happen 20, 30 years from then for the lives and the lifestyle and the standard of living for our grandchildren. And this we learned from a lot of people, most notably in my life, L. Neil Smith. Now, Palace came out, and that was kind of a, you know, gun rights on asteroids kind of thing. You know, so we had a good, and you're talking about there's a series to that, you know, or a sequel, and I'm going, tell me everything.
Well, there's going to be at least 3 books, but I feel a 4th book insidiously creeping into my head. Number 2 in the lineup, series is the sequel to Palace, and one of the chapters I'm proudest of is chapter 33, in which we see how free people, 2 young women, deal with airport security types. If you look at chapter 33 and go down to the first space break, this is online, the series is online, but you also can get it between covers at Amazon, and there's an electronic version as well. But between those 2 books...
Spell series. How do you spell it?
Ceres.
Okay.
It's the name of the largest of the asteroids, just as Pallas is the name of the 2nd largest of the asteroids. Between the 2 books is the next book I will write when I'm through with the current book I'm writing. And that's called Ares, A-R-E-S, which is the Greek word for Mars. So you have Pallas, an asteroid, Ares, Mars, and then Ceres, another asteroid, and then just to break the pattern, the 4th book will be called Beautiful Dreamer. But I won't go into that right now. It's a long way away. In Ceres, we get to see. In Ares, we get to see Martian colonists being miserably treated by the government, and what the people, the Palatians, do about that. And it's going to be a very romantic book. But the thing to look for right now is series, and these books pretty well stand on their own. I found that you can use fiction. Actually, Ayn Rand taught me that you can use fiction probably more effectively than nonfiction in changing people's minds and hearts, as the saying goes.
But tell me about Down with Power. You know, I want to get some more detail on it. If somebody comes away from that, is it just a bunch of policy and how libertarian philosophy applies to it, or is there what's it do?
It talks about various problems and shows that a great many of them are not problems at all. They're maintained as problems because solved problems are not what politicians are interested in. A solved problem is a threat to a politician. You know, he has to make some kind of mess or rely on his predecessors to have made some kind of mess. And then, you know, he'll come along and straighten it out, usually with the same kind of legislation that caused the mess in the first place. I mean, we're all familiar with the piled higher and deeper effect of government. I mean, what government needs to do right now to get America out of the mess that we're in is walk away. That's what they need to do. They need to go away, and leave the economy to itself. People are brilliant on their own, and they will fix things. I did hear Ron Paul saying, you know, in 1945, at the end of World War II, we reintegrated 10 million men into our society, guys who'd been under arms and in uniform during war, and there was a feeling that, we're going to have a terrible depression or so there won't be enough jobs and all that. And they came back to the States, and within a few months, in fact weeks in many cases, they were fully functioning members of a productive class society again. People are the problem solvers, not politicians. They're the problem creators. So that's the way I address the 36 or 37 issues that are in the book. There's an index, which people will find useful. As one of them, my previous nonfiction book doesn't have an index.
Okay, now let me make this one comment. I want to get your take on it.
Certainly.
The one thing that I learned from what got me interested in reading your books and and other science fiction authors and so on is the practical application of philosophy in a fictional format, because I mean, how else are you going to do it,
Yeah.
And the one thing that I started to come to grips with was, if you're going to have a police state, if you're going to have this top-down control, central command, we rule you thing going on and perpetuated, you had to spend trillions, which is my optimism, by the way, trillions of dollars over generations trying to beat out the imagination out of children. You have to just even think what can be done.
And then they'll surprise you, because as Rand pointed out, up will pop somebody who it didn't work on, or who's fresh to the fray, and you got to start all over again. People rediscover the philosophy of liberty all the time.
We're seeing it happen now. I mean, the one thing, I give you an example. We were real big on Spaceship One. When that went in the summer of '04, we went there and had our sign, Spaceship One, Government Zero, and all this kind of stuff. We're going to space, government's not invited, government's lost in space. You can't hear the government scream in space. I mean, we were having all kinds of fun. Well, we gave all those signs to Burt Rutan, and he still probably has them. I mean, he took the one, he just ripped it off from me from the fence line, grabbed it. I got to send a message to the media, and he gave it to the astronaut, and Michael Melville, I think was his name, he's standing up there holding that sign, and it went planetary, but nowhere in the U.S.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, it was obvious. It's just like them trying to, avoid Dr. Paul. Well, what happened was, we understood that the meaning of this, when we have civilians without government going into space, it meant that we could put up our own communication satellites and bypass the control grid of the internet on DOD's pipeline. And all of a sudden, in popular science, just last week, almost summer, one of the activists here put up a story, German hackers are putting up their own communication satellite for internet to bypass. Even before that, over a year ago, Richard Branson was talking about, so you can give internet to the poor children of the third world, buying up all these bankrupt communication satellites so he could have free internet, for the poor children. I'm like, yeah, BS. That is for all of us to buy. So I say, do your soap of crap, you stupid, always government fighting the last battle.
Yeah.
We are so in your face, it's never going to stop. The tighter your fist around the star, the more star systems leak between your fingers. So this future is very bright, but I'm wanting to get, before we get to the end of the show, what your anticipation is of what we have to go through before we break free.
Well, I don't have a crystal ball, obviously. I have made a lot of successful predictions, but they're all based on necessity. In other words, they're things my characters needed, or things that set the scene and all that stuff. So I wait till we come back?
No, that's the end, man. See how fast it went?
Okay, well, it depends on whether Ron Paul gets elected or not, to a very large degree.
I give you guys another little motivation to go read the Probability Broach. He had the internet all laid out, and this was the late 70s in his book.
That's right.
I was sitting there going, yeah, that's how it'll be, and you just go, wow, wouldn't that be cool? And then it happened.
Yes.
Yeah, way before Al Gore, man, you win. Hey, it's always great talking to L. Neil Smith, and we'll have you back on soon, because we want to see how this book's doing after it gets out for a little bit.
I can hardly wait. It feels in many ways like my first book to me now.
Very cool, very cool. We'll get it promoted. We'll put it on the site. Donna, you have another function, please. Put it up on the site as its own entry, and we're all over it. We'll be right back with Catherine Bleish and John Bush.
On DVD for a limited time.
Yeah, hey, thanks, man.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. I don't know if you know this, but that book is dedicated to you.
Yeah, I saw that. Thank you. I didn't say anything because that diminishes its value.
Oh no, it doesn't.